My name is SuperNatural. I am an MC. That means Master of Ceremonies, mic controller. You know, that's what I do for a living. And I was fortunate enough today for your people and your teachers to call me up to ask me to come out to show you my gift, to share my gift with you. This is a gift that I have. And a lot of people, you know, in the hip-hop industry, you know what I mean, we catch so much stigma. You know, people say, you know, it's bad rap. You know, everybody's gangster, you know, everybody's a killer, everybody hustles. That's not true. You know, I come from the hood. I was born and raised in Indiana. I moved to New York in the early 80s, and I lived in Brooklyn, Bed-Stuy, New York, you know, Marcy Projects, home of Jay-Z. You know, that's where I stayed. So just because you live in the hood doesn't mean you have to do hood things. Growing up where I grew up in Indiana, hip-hop was far few and in between. And I grew up in a very racially torn type of town where they pretty much didn't care about hip-hop. So I was inspired by the movement, the hip-hop movement in the early 80s, what they call the golden era of hip-hop. That's what inspired me. And then, you know, I was inspired by all of the MCs that make up this hip-hop community, you know, like KRS-One, Tribe Called Quest, you know, BDP, the list could go on. But that was my inspiration, De La Soul. You know, De La Soul has been in the game for over 20 years. You know, I remember when I bought their first cassette tape, excuse me. That's how old it was, you know, the first cassette tape. So, you know, I was inspired by the movement of hip-hop. At that time in the 80s, it was something that was different. I felt like it empowered me. As a young man, I had my own voice. I was able to speak. So that's what I was inspired by. I was inspired by the music, inspired by the culture itself, the colors, the MCs, the B-boys, the graph writing. You know, that all is part of hip-hop culture, and that's what inspired me and actually got me here to even be talking to you today. Like, I told my son the other day, I have a son that's you guys' age, you know what I mean? My son is 18 years old. And I told him the other day that when I look around me and I see everything around me in my life, from the socks that I got on my feet to the pants I'm wearing today, it was all generated through rap money. Not crack money, not hustling on the corner, through rap money. That goes to show you that if you use your mind and you apply yourself, you can achieve anything. The way that I got into freestyling was, when I first started, I was under the assumption that all rappers freestyled their music. So naturally, that was the way I kind of started. And to be very honest, like my mother, the first rap record that I ever actually had my hands on, my mom bought it. And it wasn't even my record, it was their record. It was called Rapper's Delight. Very over the hip hop, the hibbity, the hibbity. That was the first record that I ever learned. And we were forbidden in my house to touch the stereo. You know, we were forbidden, like, don't touch the stereo. But as soon as my mom would leave, of course, I would pull that record out, and it had an A side and a B side. One side had the vocals on it, the other side had an instrumental. So when I would turn the record over and I would have an instrumental, I would rap the words to the song. And pretty soon I got bored with that. So I was like, you know what, I wonder if I can make my own words up. So I just started trying to make my own words, and slowly but surely it became part of my style, which is now freestyle. So I owe my career to my mother. You know what I mean? She was the one that bought that record and brought it in the house and told me not to listen to it, and I listened to it anyway. Hip-hop took such a hold of my life at a young point. You know, it was kind of like when people would hear me do what I do, they would always say, you know, you need to be doing that professionally, or you need to get out of this small town, or you need to stretch out and do something, you know, with your talent. So I pretty much just focused in on what it was that I knew that I wanted, and that's what brought me here. I can honestly say, it's sad to say that I didn't think of anything else, but like I said, I wouldn't have never thought in a million years that hip-hop would have, you know, took a hold of me the way that it did and fed me and clothed me and put a roof over my head and, you know, fed my family. So I'll tell anybody, once you find something you're good at and you can exploit it for the betterment of yourself, then you should definitely do that. Never let anyone discourage you from what that is, whether you're an artist, whether you're a singer, a rapper, you want to be a doctor, whatever, a lawyer. Never let anyone discourage you, because there was many days where a lot of people was like, oh, you'll never make it. Get out of here, you're corny. oh, you're trash, you know. But through perseverance and keeping my nose to the grindstone, you know, not to sound cliche, that's what happened, and it brought me here today. So there you go.